And we are recording with Miss Clare Lopez on Thursday, January 5th, 2023 at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time. The first episode in the new year with Miss Lopez, both regaling each other about our Christmas festivities, and by that I mean putting on pounds of cookies and potatoes and beer and all that good stuff. But Miss Lopez, how are you doing?
Well, very glad to be back with you, Tommy. And I will wish you a happy new year.
Thank you. You as well. Um, well, because of the holidays and by design, I unplugged from the news. I watched Home Alone several times, and I hung out with my brother and my parents. I've been completely unconnect. All I really can gather from, I guess, the the outermost fringes of the internet seeping through is something is going on with the Speaker of the House, something is going on with Title 42, and there are more Twitter files. But that's about as much of a finger on that I have on the pulse of the world right now. And I gotta be honest, I don't mind being a little unplugged right now, but I do need to be cognizant of the world. So I suppose this podcast will be my official re-entry into the world at large for 2023, and I'm shifting that entire responsibility onto you to tell me what's going on in the world.
Yeah, well, what you mentioned really, those things are dominating the news. Of course, these last several days have been 24/7 nonstop about the fight for the speakership in the House of Representatives. The last I saw this afternoon is that Kevin McCarthy has just lost the eighth vote, and I think they're doing a ninth one, maybe now.
Eight.
Um, and there is a hardcore of House Freedom Caucus members that just will not budge. Among them are Lauren Boebert of Colorado, and Matt Gaetz of Florida, and Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, and several more. As we know, McCarthy cannot lose more than 4 votes overall if he is to get to the magic number of 218. And at last look, not been glued to it, but it looks like at least 10 are still holding out against him. So what we're getting down to is sort of the maybe hopefully the final stages of this battle. Will he finally give up? He has granted a lot of concessions on Freedom Caucus demands for changes to the rules about how the House is run. He has conceded quite a bit, but there are some who are not satisfied yet, and really, no matter the concessions, really just don't want him there. I've heard a lot of commentary, as you might imagine, from all sides of this over the last few days. Um, and I have to say that for those who are criticizing the process as, oh, we're airing our dirty laundry and the whole world is watching. Well, yeah, that's the whole point. The whole world is watching. They're watching the democratic process. And this is how democracy is supposed to look: messy, even chaotic, contentious, raucous. Um, and there's a whole bunch of the world that looks at this and wishes that they too could speak out honestly and forcefully, um, and voicing their true opinions out loud on camera, and not have a commissar knocking on their door that night.
Hmm.
I think this is a good lesson for America and for the world. Yes, do we want to get down to the business of the Republican majority, taking their oaths of office in the House, and getting about the business of the House, in particular, beginning those hearings and so forth that have been promised. Yeah, we do want that to happen. But in the meantime, what you're watching, I think, is a lesson in democracy. Remember, after our revolution, our Revolutionary War against Britain, beginning in 1776, we didn't get a ratified constitution until 1789. That was a process. So
All right.
with a lot of heated arguments and backing and forthing to get to that point of our Constitution finally being ratified. So I don't mind this. I don't think it's a bad thing. Somebody else just pointed out to me a short time ago. I was talking with them on the phone. Um, we'll be reminded that tomorrow's January 6th, the anniversary of 2 years ago, when some rowdy characters and perfectly innocent people um, brought their concerns to the Capitol building, and how many of them to this day languish as political prisoners inside of jail because of it. So the fact that this process, an open and raucous and out loud process of democracy, is going on inside of the Capitol building, uh, perhaps through tomorrow, I don't know, maybe longer, I think is not a bad thing. I think it's a good example for the world of what a really um, open and at least hopefully free uh, democratic constitutional republic looks like.
That's a good point. It wasn't just 1776 and then there we go, we're good. That's 13 years. That ain't nothing. I mean, that's 2010 to now. That was my sophomore year of college till now. And it's you don't really think about it because anything in the past, the dates just you just kind of go through World War One, World War Two, Vietnam. What you just that was 13 years. That's this stuff does take time. Now, what is I have to ask and I have to admit my own ignorance. Is this is this kind of is it normally this tumultuous voting for a speaker of the
No,
house? Okay.
no, it's not. It's more reminiscent of how tumultuous a parliamentary system
Sure.
might be. For example, in Britain, where there's quite a bit of raucous commentary and even shouting, from the backbench and so forth. But here, and this is the point, for so long, the Republican establishment, which is what the revolt is all about. The revolt of the House Freedom Caucus is against the Republican forces of the establishment in the House. In the Senate, for the moment, it's a lost cause with Mitch McConnell as the majority or the minority leader. But in the House, that this is going on, there too, for the longest time, there had not been any meaningful pushback against the GOP establishment. And that's what we're seeing now coming out of the House Freedom Caucus and some of those names I just mentioned a bit ago.
What is the most likely outcome then? Right? Because so it seems like they don't want him, right? That much is
A
apparent.
certain number do not. Now what they'll say is that while they're willing to step out there and put their faces and their names to their revolt, their opposition to Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker, they will say that there are many more among the now slim but Republican majority in the House who haven't stepped forward openly yet, but that once McCarthy backs off, steps down from his quest to be Speaker, that many more of them would step forward. I don't know. I really don't know. We're just going to have to watch it play out.
And why did he? I do know that he moved his things into the office of, I guess, Speaker of the House. What was is that just kind of like a political gaffe? Did he actually think he was
No,
gonna win? Did
I
he
mean,
have
I don't
re
think it was a gaffe so much as it was, I have
arrogance?
a right to this. It's mine. I've earned it. I mean, he said things like this
But
on camera, or at least on mic. Um,
why
a
is
little
that
bit
though?
jumping the gun, maybe, huh?
Why is that? And again, I'm admitting complete ignorance of this. I should know this. Why is that? Why is there was he the expected like it'd be like if if you're Leonardo DiCaprio or something and you were at some award ceremony, you you might expect you're gonna win. You're Leonardo, right? Is there something there? Why does he hold a lot of power? Does he have
He holds an enormous amount of power,
okay.
or would, as speaker. Um, and truth be told, he is a very effective fundraiser for the Republican Party. He has attended all of these myriad events, as they call them, the rubber chicken dinners, that are the fundraisers, for example. Um, you know, uh, the politicking part of being Speaker of the House. He has done all of that. That's true. What the House Freedom Caucus objects to is not so much that, in which he's been very hardworking and one might even say, successful. Um, but the way that he wields the power behind the scenes, for example, the way that he destroyed, backstabbed a former representative from the state of Iowa, Steve King, what he did to him, which was um, awful. Read Steve King's book to find out more about that. That kind of power, the power to grant or take away committee assignments, the power to disperse those funds that he's been out there fundraising to different campaigns or to withhold them. The complaints, that he has interfered at um, the primary election level sometimes when there is a challenge at the primary level against an entrenched establishment Republican, being challenged by an up and comer, not part of the establishment. What happens to those people? Look at what happened, in any number of states. How McCarthy did interfere in primary races. These are among the rule changes that the rebels, if you want to call them that, demanded changes in that the speaker not have the power or the right to interfere at the primary level just because she wants to support the establishment candidate against an up and comer who might be more aligned with House Freedom Caucus values and principles. Another one of the rules changes that apparently I think McCarthy has given in on, for another example, is that when the chairs of different House committees want to issue subpoenas for testimony, for hearings, the Speaker has had the right to rule on whether those subpoenas go out or not, and he can squash them. And McCarthy has squashed subpoenas that his own Republican Party committee chairs wanted to issue on important topics, just because he didn't want the hearings to go forward or that particular subpoena to go forward. So rules changes like these that would trim really the power of the Speaker of the House. These are some of the things that are at issue with this House Freedom Caucus revolt.
Um based on and this is I mean, I guess we don't know the answer, but as always, I will shift that burden onto you and make you a crystal ball. Do you think there is, or is this just my own fixation on it because it's what I do every day with podcasting? Do you think there's anything involved with he as Speaker of the House? Do you think there would maybe not be investigations into the ever more apparent, systematic, and repeated and mechanized violation of the First Amendment by the Biden administration through back
Well,
channels to Twitter?
you know, there have been several key issues that McCarthy, as leader, Republican leader, over the last couple of years, has not spoken out about. January 6th being among them. Election integrity, not a peep. And then the topics that you bring up too. Um, that's part of the you know complaints that are being brought against him, that he has not been an outspoken champion of First Amendment rights, of the overreach, the violation of American citizens' First Amendment rights, and others. Um, Fourth Amendment comes to mind as well, and Fifth. He has not spoken out, and that's what some of the complaints are about. He's simply not um, a spokesman for core constitutional principles. He's not.
So it seems like, and again, this is on my own, very broad stroke speculation, but it kind of seems to be to boil it down in its simplest terms, it seems to be the normal entrenched kind of uniparty power structure against those that might be upsetting the apple cart or tipping
Yeah,
the.
uniparty is a very good way to put it. Absolutely. Um, I mean, also look over at the Senate at Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell.
Hmm.
Um, where was he yesterday? He was in what was it, Pennsylvania, um, at an event together with President Biden to promote the monstrosity of the omnibus bill for infrastructure projects. That's uniparty in action.
Hmm. Well, I feel like if the uniparty was going to kind of bulldoze its way through, they would have already they would have already done it. So it is entertaining, I guess, not to fall into the normal bread and circus, but it doesn't seem to be just gliding through like normal. Uh, I don't know what if he doesn't get it? Who is there like a next runner up, or is it?
Well, I mean, a number of other Republican House members have been nominated in various floor speeches, among them Byron Donalds of Florida, uh, Jim Jordan of Ohio, who absolutely does not want the job and has said so repeatedly, because he will be much better situated as the incoming chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Um, who else? Uh, Steve Scalise's name has been mentioned, but no one particular leader, has emerged as the alternative to McCarthy, and it kind of seems that they're waiting for McCarthy to withdraw before a particular alternative leader is put forward for to ask for support.
Why do you is that a tactical thing? If I step up and say, I'm going to take him, does that give McCarthy time to drum up or dig up dirt
Some
on
of this
me?
is really inside baseball
Yeah,
for the House, and my understanding of it only goes so far.
gotcha.
I'm not sure if this is a tactic or they just haven't gotten that far yet. I don't know.
I often forget that the guest is not an encyclopedia that has all the answers of the universe. And when I ask them, why is this happening? And they go, I don't know. And I go, oh, yeah, none of us do. That's why it's news. Um, I guess that makes sense. Now, you said this is the ninth or the
I
eighth
believe
vote.
they're heading now, maybe right as we speak, for the ninth vote. Yes.
And he can only, you said he can only lose so many times?
He can only lose 4 votes.
Not
Um,
you mean
he
individual.
needs a total of 218 votes out of the entire House. It's not 435 because a couple are absent or one has passed away, unfortunately. So it's the number is 218 that's the speaker must earn in a vote to be elected, and that means for McCarthy that he can only lose 4 of his own Republican
Gotcha.
members on any vote, and up until now he has lost at least 10 and upwards of 20
So,
going into the 9th vote. At the 8th vote, I think he lost around 10. That's not that's
are
not tenable. There's no path for him with 10 holdouts.
okay. So I had the verbiage mixed up. It's not that he can only lose four sets of voting.
Oh no, no, they can go on
They
for
can
a
do
very
that.
long time. I
Got
mean,
it.
historically, there
Could
have
go
been
forever.
times. Um, I certainly hope it won't be this again, but I forget which date in the past went over 100 votes. 100 times they
Okay.
had to vote to reach an agreement on a speaker. I
Okay.
don't expect that's going to happen this time, but
Sure.
they are up to number 9 now. There's no limit.
Sure. Okay. So I just had the vocabulary confused. So if you can only lose up now, is that, and I guess we're just really showcasing how little I know about this, but is that because it's assumed that the Democratic members just won't vote for him, much like is that it's just they're not going to vote?
Correct. The,
Oh,
the the Democrat members of the House are lined up behind the Democrat Party
gotcha.
candidate for Speaker, Hakeem Jeffries.
Gotcha. And then just because the Republicans have the majority, it's they essentially, but they can
But
vote.
because their majority is so slim,
They're
that's why McCarthy can only lose up to 4 votes if he wants to win the Speaker position.
now could Democrats vote for McCarthy? I
Yes,
If we're
but
talking uniparty, is that out of the
yeah,
realm
but
of
that's
possible?
not happening.
It's not. That's not a norm.
I
That's
mean, they could, but we're not seeing that.
they okay. I got yeah. They could, but it's all right. Gotcha. I guess that would maybe you would really see the uniparty though. That's what I'm wondering. If when backed
Well,
against the wall, does the uniparty do they fall in line?
uniparty probably refers more to positions on policies
Yeah.
than
No.
it
I
does
know.
to
I
this
know.
particular um, vote, you know, contest for Speaker.
But I guess I'm looking at it kind of in like the same way, like you know, Mike Pence didn't have to certify the election, but he or the votes, but he did.
That
I'm just,
sort of thing.
I guess
Exactly.
I'm looking at like theoreticals.
That kind
They
of thing.
could.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's where I'm getting at then is when their back is up against the wall, when it does get to the last play of the game, if you will, like we saw on January 6th, 2 years ago, and when push comes to shove, the uniparty does kind of show its
Well,
face.
I mean, you know, the Democrats do not want McCarthy to be Speaker. No.
Okay. Well,
I mean, they might prefer him
that's what
to one
I
of
guess
the
that's what
alternatives,
I
but
guess that's
they're
what I'm
not
getting
going
at.
to vote for him. No.
That's what I'm getting at is, you know, you have your ideal outcomes,
No,
but
they're,
then
you know what they actually did? Some of the members, the Democrat members, they actually came into the chamber yesterday and were eating popcorn. Yeah.
that's kind of
I
funny.
think there was something about alcoholic beverages too, but I'm not so sure about that.
That, that is kind of funny. Um, all right. Well, I mean, I guess there's really nothing then.
Stay tuned. You know, I
Yeah,
don't know
I
what
guess
else to
that's
say at this point other than stay tuned. This is going to go on for a while, maybe through tomorrow. But again,
huh.
going through tomorrow ties up the chamber, ties up the members, on the anniversary of January the 6th, and that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Remind them, what this is really all about.
Well, that is kind of wild because didn't the January 6th committee just vote to like seal away all surveillance video for 50 years?
Yes, they did 100 and what is it, 40,000 hours or
That's
something.
always a good sign of
Um,
innocence.
of course, that can be overturned. That can be
Sure.
reversed with a Republican majority vote. Um, that evidence has apparently been sent away to the National Archives, from whence it can be summoned back.
Yeah, video of security guards opening gates or the doors from the inside. Or
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
Pfizer and their request for 75 years. That's always a good indication of transparency and innocence. I didn't do anything wrong, but we're gonna seal this thing up for the next half century. That's always a good move. Um, uh, well, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's it. Is there anything else going on in the world? Is it really this? Is the spotlight on this?
Well, speaking of Congress, I'll mention that just before Christmas, I think it was the 21st of December, if I remember right, the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky,
Mm-hmm.
came to the
Oh
United
yeah.
States and delivered an address in English to a joint session of Congress, received a thunderous standing ovation, bipartisan. And he made the case, after thanking the United States for all the assistance that we provided to help liberate his country from the Russian invasion. He made a request for more help. In particular, right now, it appears what they're looking for are tanks, or at least heavy armored vehicles, because now that the ground is frozen, warfare will shift to heavier
Mm-hmm.
armored vehicles that previously, in rainy, muddy weather that preceded the winter, just wouldn't have been able to move. But now they can. So that was his probably top request. Um, but it was amazing to see him there. He received an American flag from Nancy Pelosi that had flown over the Capitol. And I think he presented her with one Ukrainian flag too in return.
Kind of like a 100,000 foot picture. Is this our own posturing, kind of like post World War II, Marshall Plan esque, providing a bulwark against the expanding Soviet Union? I think wasn't it Richard Bissell went over and met with Stalin, and he was like, "When will you stop your expansion?" And he said, "When we have enough," and he didn't clarify it. And that's kind of, I
Yeah.
think I might be getting the timeline correct. That's what led to the Marshall Plan, which was more than just altruistic rebuilding of Europe. It was also redrawing the lines, kind of setting up for the Cold War. And
Well, it was establishing NATO alongside of the
well, that
Marshall
and
Plan.
then that's what I'm kind of getting to is, and I don't mean this in some pessimistic way, and it's very easy for me to be an armchair observer in my safe apartment in America. I get that. I'm aware of that. Um, do you think that's what more this is us kind of redrawing the lines
No,
of
we're not redrawing lines. I
not
I, I would say um, differently. I would put it differently, and that is that, and I think I may have spoken with you about this before, but on other shows too. Um, what we're defending, and those who likewise are helping to support Ukraine in Europe, and certainly NATO members. Um, we're supporting the idealized vision of a world order, of a global world order that began in 1648 with the Treaty of Westphalia,
mhm,
which treaty was signed in the German town of Westphalia following the horrific, catastrophic 30 Years' War that had torn Europe apart, slaughtered I don't know how many people. And at the end of it, 1648, the great powers of the day got together in Westphalia and came to an agreement that from then on, um, the idealized world order would be based upon the sovereign nation state with inviolable borders. Now, obviously, that ideal is something to be aspired to, and has been observed as much in the breach since that date until now, but it
Mm.
remains the ideal of a world order that I think we, at least of the free world, want to preserve. And that goes for our southern border as equally as the borders of any other place um, that are being violated. And if we've listened to the speeches of Vladimir Putin, the ruler of Russia, over even the last several years, not even just very recently, but going back some time, he has very openly stated that his objective in life
Is to
is to
restore the border.
reestablish as much of the old USSR, the Soviet Union, if not the Russian Empire itself, as he possibly can.
Yeah.
Straight out, he says this
Yeah, it's not
up
hidden.
front.
Yeah.
And what we're defending against is that uh, unfounded declaration of some kind of a non-existent right to invade and seize and conquer and dominate whatever would be emperors and warlords want to. That's what we're defending against. That's why Ukraine matters. And more specifically, of course, Putin has very directly threatened actual NATO members like the Baltic states, Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania, with reconquest again. And they're NATO members. And were he to be allowed to get away with what he's attempting in Ukraine, thankfully up until now without much success, and it looks like he's not going to have success. But were he to be allowed to do that, he's very openly stated that the Baltics would be next. And then what? And then by Article 5 of the NATO treaty, the United States and all of our NATO partners would be drawn in directly
To war.
to the conflict. Right now, what we've been providing, by the way, it's not blank checks.
Yeah,
Nobody's
I know that.
sending over, shrink wrapped piles of $100 bills on pallets to
Like
Ukraine like we do to the Taliban and the mullahs in Iran. But rather, the majority of the money that has been allocated for Ukraine has been provided in the form of weaponry,
yeah.
and ammunition and humanitarian aid too. Weaponry that's proved pretty effective.
Yeah.
Most recently, I would point to the HIMARS, which are the highly maneuverable artillery rocket systems that have been used to devastating effect to defend Ukraine against the Russians. So, get banish the thought that we're just writing blank checks. We're not.
No,
It's not checks. It's not piles of shrink wrapped $100 bills. We only send those to the mullahs in
we
Iran
only
and the Taliban,
we only send those to
but not to Ukraine.
yeah.
So that's my overview of why Ukraine matters. Why is Ukraine's fight our fight?
Yeah.
It's for the idealized world order that we wish to live in and bequeath to our children, and it's more directly about preventing Putin from going any further, which he has outright stated is his objective on multiple occasions.
Yeah. No, we only send the unmarked bills to theocratic dictatorships that tweet death to Israel and America. But no, I mean I've definitely slowly shifted my own, I guess, opinion on it. I'm influenced by a lot of the actual, special forces guys I've interviewed that, the GWAT veterans that are, like this isn't our fight. And I'm openly, influenced by them. I've got to know them. And They're pretty disillusioned with it, and I have to take their word for it. And again, admittedly, my own cognitive uh, opinion on I don't like Biden, but I also have to zoom out and realize that first of all, nothing is black and white. It's all extremely gray and messy and sloppy, and there's not a perfect balance sheet at the end. And
And we shouldn't base our position about Ukraine or anything else on whom else takes the position for or against.
well, and that's
In other words,
my
we're
own
not,
critique of myself is
yeah,
I have to
we're not judging, um, the fight for Ukraine's independence on the fact that, I don't know, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, used to be a comedic actor, or that he's got, a past that never gave a hint of the leader he would grow into under these extreme circumstances. I mean,
no
reminds me
no
another Hollywood actor who
sure.
rose to the occasion when called upon, and that's what I see with Zelensky. There was no hint in his past that he would ever become the kind of leader of his people that he has become. I
Well,
think
no,
it's remarkable. I think he's amazing. And I also have to give credit to the amazing fighting spirit of the Ukrainian people who are determined to live free and to liberate their land from this invasion.
no, and then that's again my own sort of external critique of myself is I can't constantly point and laugh at examples of kind of people foaming at the mouth and orange man bad. It's like I have to remove myself from my own thoughts and be like, what is the actual
Mm-hmm.
chessboard? And as much as I would, love for, it all to be perfect and for us not to be involved anymore, the reality is there 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 are a series of events that will unfold. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
in the last century that appeasement doesn't work. And yeah, I mean, this is probably the least worst outcome, as much as as much of a difficult pill as it is to swallow.
Yeah, and one other point. Um, it's constantly pointed out, and rightfully, that Ukraine is one of the most corrupt places on the face of the earth. Yeah,
Sure.
they are. Um, but he who live in glass house maybe no throw stones.
Well, and that's
Um,
I'm also very like
at this
aware of
point
what we
in
are.
America, we're not exactly a shining example of a corruption-free
Yeah,
government
we can't
or,
talk about the Twitter
or
files in the same
establishment.
breath.
And so, does that would that make it right for, I don't know, North Korea to decide to peel off Oregon, Idaho, and California
Yeah.
because we're corrupt? I mean, maybe some of us wouldn't mind seeing some of them go. Okay, but that aside, um, that wouldn't be right. Just because we have corruption within our system, that does not justify
No.
wholesale invasion, bombardment of cities to rubble, and wholesale slaughter of civilians, and and then pressuring that country that's been invaded to negotiate the future status of its easternmost sovereign territory.
Yeah.
Would we sit down with Kim Jong Un to negotiate the future of Oregon, Idaho, Washington State, California?
No, we
I
would
don't think so.
vaporize their homeland.
You know, um, I don't think we would do that, and nor should we, or even think of it. But then neither should we be pressuring Ukraine to do that either.
Yeah. And I think it's again just being a critic of myself. It's kind of like, myself included, when you're younger and you have more liberal utopian ideals, which, it's great. It's short. It's like the quote, show me a young man show me a young man who's not a liberal, and I'll show you a man without a heart. Show me an old man who's not a conservative, and I'll show you a man without a brain. And I know that's broad strokes too, but it's like as you get older and you realize you're like, yeah, man, the best service costs the most money. And as you get older, you're like, no shit. If you want the next day delivery, if you want the thing installed today, you got to pay more. That's incentive. That's how it works. There is sort of my own red pilling where it's like, well, there's kickbacks from like the money going overseas to, it's also going into slush funds. And it's like, part of me is also like, what are you new? Like, that's how the machine works. And it's not good. But it's like, how do you think this shit gets done? And I think I'm maybe having more of like a mature view of like, yeah, there are people making money off of this, but we've seen that you have to contain these things because if you don't, you're just gonna pay it tenfold, and you're gonna pay it with American blood.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's and again, this is all me sitting in my own cozy apartment. I get that I'm 32 and I have no idea what I'm talking about,
No, no, I
but
think you're right. You're on to the right conclusion here, I think.
but it's also just like it's also it's sloppier. It's like you accept that it's not all peachy, that things don't always work out, but in a way, it's almost more comforting because it's more real. And then there's also like the whole this isn't you're not in a lab, dropping acid on a block of aluminum and seeing what happens. There is no redo. It's a real time simulation. You can't go, oh, look what happened. You have to choose the path now that you think is least worst. We can't wait 5 years and go, oh, see, when we didn't back Ukraine, Putin did this. Let's go. You don't go back and do it. You have to make the least crappy decision now.
Hmm, hmm.
And in support of it, I would say there's also probably to Biden to Biden's credit, which are words I don't like saying, but I think there is something to be said for putting your money where your mouth is. Does this make China think twice about Taiwan?
That's a good point, and I think absolutely it does.
Like, hey, we'll show up. Like, we'll show up. We'll spend this money. That's kind of, it's less shit talking and more like, yeah, no, we'll do it. We'll do it. There's probably something to be said for that. And again, you have to, not you, me, stop looking at who's in office and look at the like not even 100,000 foot, like 100,000 mile view. Which one is guiding towards a, though imperfect, more idealized world of sovereignty and bulwarks against expansion? Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably the least worst path. And that's a bitter pill to swallow. But when you're on your own, you can make a decision down. You can make uh very microscopic decisions in your own life, from like what kind of socks you buy. But like the bigger your group gets, then it comes to this negotiation of like, where are we going to go for dinner? And then the bigger your group gets, and it's like, well, what are we going to vote on for city taxes? And then the bigger your group gets, well, what are we voting on for who's going to represent the state in the Congress? And as the groups of people get bigger and bigger, I mean, you kind of have to be an adult and go, you're going to get less and less of what you want. It's more and more fuzzy. And you have to kind of just go with, well, what is the closest thing to that which you want? And we're not talking about Tommy and Tommy's apartment. We're talking about nation states and the future of billions of people. Yeah, it's probably this is probably what you have to do. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely humbling. I've been very open up against. I don't think we should be involved, but my mind has been shifting more and more where I kind of feel like I'm having my head pulled out of my ass, and it's like, what do you think is going to happen? What is You can sit there and go, no one should be homeless. Everyone should have jobs. And it's like, hey, who's paying for it? Like, grow up, get out of your hippie commune, like, put the bong down. Who's paying for it? And you kind of have that moment as you get older that there is no such thing as a free lunch. I guess that's what I'm getting at is I realize like you probably got to fund Ukraine. Is it corrupt? Sure, but like Putin has, in no less words, stated what he wants to do. He's telling you. It's written on his face. He's saying, "I'm gonna do this," and he's doing it.
I mean, he denies outright the nationhood, the peoplehood, the sovereignty of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people.
Yeah,
He declares that they have no identity
yeah,
separate from that of a Russian empire. He wants to erase the sovereign nationhood, peoplehood of the Ukrainian people, and they're not having it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's also very easy for me to. I've had a guy in here a couple times, Eric Luhan, who's a Ukrainian refugee, and he comes on maybe every like 2 or 3 months.
Hmm.
And I had him on the last day of last year, the last podcast I did, and I was just realizing, even talking to him, like he and his family have fled to Spain. But when I talk to him, other than talking to you and talking to him, those are really the only times I'm like thinking about Ukraine. It's more of like a little mental exercise I do, and then I put it on the shelf and go about my life. And talking to him always brings me back down to earth. Like this isn't going away for him. This isn't for me. It's a little podcast, and your Zoom square pops up, and I do it, and I title the episode, and I upload it, and then it's on to the next thing. But like this, his brother's fighting. Like it's very real, and I think that's what I also have to remember is that this is like an intellectual curiosity I have, no different than like a Rubik's cube. It's like, how is this solved? And then I can just put it down and go get groceries and go to bed. Like this is reality for people. And that's
Mm-hmm.
like my own sort of I have to kind of shut up sometimes. Um I don't really know where I'm going with this. I feel like I've been meandering for the last 10 minutes.
No,
So
you're sort of thinking out loud,
yeah.
and I appreciate that. You're processing everything we've been talking about, and I think that's a useful exercise. So thank you for letting me talk about it too.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we've successfully run this for almost an hour, despite me wanting to crawl into bed and die. So with
Oh
that,
dear.
not actually die, but
Go get some chicken soup.
I'm gonna go to the grocery store and I'm gonna get back and I'm gonna get in bed so early tonight. That's one of the best things about being sick is like you just get into bed so early and you sleep so long.
No,
That's
thank
like
you.
that's like the one silver out. Well, I'm someone that normally stays up way later than I should. This is like I kind of it is refreshing just being dog tired and wanting to get
Mm.
into bed.
Well,
I'm
I do hope you feel better soon.
well, thank you. Miss Claire Lopez, as always. Everything will be in the description. The websites, the social media. I am still banned from Twitter. So that's Dr.
Got to
Malone's
work on
back.
that.
Dr.
Got to get you
McCullough's
back
back.
on.
I did have, kind of not on my 2023 bingo card. 2 days ago, I interviewed a woman who dated Lee Harvey Oswald, and she made a tweet about because she's back on Twitter and I'm still not back on Twitter. And so
Hmm.
somebody screenshotted a tweet of her saying like at Elon Musk, please, get Tommy's podcast back on Twitter. And that's something I never thought I would see, and that was not on my bingo card is Lee Harvey Oswald ex-girlfriend rallying for me to get back on Twitter.
Well,
So
maybe I can help out. I'll do whatever I can.
please do. He's I don't know why I can't get back on. I don't
There are millions. I mean, I think it's a numbers thing.
yeah.
So many people, thousands and thousands were banned and shadow banned and cut off.
I am a refugee. I'm stuck in limbo, and
Got to get you back.
I will get back. That's my fight. Miss Claire Lopez,
All
thank you
right.
so much. We'll
Thank
resume
you.
next week, and I will send you this episode when it's up. And thank you so much.
Sounds good. You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
Take
Take
care.
care, everybody.